a current estimate is approximately 13.9 million children in the country that are vulnerable. And that includes like your sexual abuse matters, that includes your physical abuse, that includes your abandoned children, and that includes your orphaned children. And according to the statistics in this country, every 6 minutes a child is abandoned in the country. So the statistics are not we do not have a set number of vulnerable children, because it keeps on growing and growing and growing daily. And it is also worth noting that the current estimate that I just gave you is just an understatement, because some of these cases, they go unreported, and some of these cases we don't know about them. So it means that that number could be even more than that. So it's a serious problem in this country.
Baby M was one of the cases that was very sad for me. He was brought to us through a hospital. He was living with his mom. He was born and then lived with his mom for some time. He was very ill, actually. He had some kind of kidney complication when he was born, and he lived with his mom, but his mom wasn't able to give him the medication that he needed. He was taken back to hospital and abandoned there. So we accepted him, took him into our care, and then when we saw him, we were gobsmacked at the state of this child. He was extremely underweight. He looked anorexic. So for about 4 months, we fattened him up. We got him as healthy as we could, but his disease was so far gone that 4 months after we took him into our care, he actually passed away.
And the child was a little girl. She was 14 years old. She was trafficked from Mozambique for the purposes of prostitution, I guess, because she was locked in a room in one of the shacks in the community where I used to work. And she was prostituted to different people in that shack. And then the police went to check what was happening there, and then they found the girl who was being abused, red-handed. The guys were there, 4 guys, and then the child. And then when I came there, I came to the scene. It was a scene of crime, and I had to see what happened. So I've never seen such level of violence against a child in my life. And the images of that scene are still haunting me even now. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep also, because experiencing or seeing such level of violence against a child is very traumatic for everybody.
I think the worst case that we had to deal with was actually in our Delmas baby home. It is about 25 minutes from here. It's a baby home that the Almond Tree runs, but it is run with quite a different model. We have a family living in that home. And one Friday night, the parents of that home were contacted by the police and asked, please, we desperately need your help. There's a little girl who's 6 years old, and she has been repeatedly beaten by both parents, one with a stick and one with the cord of a lamp. And they beat her to such a degree that she was almost not alive anymore. She was unconscious. And the hospital treated her and discharged her the same night. Can you believe it? And just discharged her into our care, which we were really worried about and very concerned about. She ended up being admitted back into hospital the next day and almost lost her life during the following week. And I have to say, I think the reality of abuse just hit home with us. It evoked anger in us as a staff, and it was painful to actually deal with that. And if you see that little girl today, she's an incredible example of strength and courage and healing and restoration that's happened in her. It's just absolutely amazing to see the love and the care that Lonzal and Kirby, the house parents, have given to her, and the staff that look after her. And she's going to be doing grade 1 next year, and she laughs and she plays, and so it's had a happy ending in the end.
Because of the level of trauma that they experience in their life and the risk that they get exposed to, obviously it affects the way that they think, the way that they view life, the way they see themselves. So obviously it comes with a lot of psychological, problems. For example, children who are vulnerable or who are abused or have experienced abuse, they are mostly experiencing low levels of self-esteem, and you find that they are struggling at school. You find that a child is supposed to be in grade 2 and the child is functioning at a grade 1 level because of trauma that they have been exposed to. And over and above that, they suffer from psychological disorders like personality disorders. They've got multiple personalities, like we deal with them every day. And obviously the psychological impact usually translates to physical illnesses. So if a child is stressed, it also affects the way they eat, their appetite, and some of them, they end up, being malnourished, right in front of us because they starve themselves. They can't eat because they don't feel like eating. They don't feel like it's worth it. And over and above that, some of these children who have been exposed to, like violent acts or have been sexually abused, they sustain terrible injuries, which can paralyze them for life. I've got kids here who are physically who were physically abused to an extent that now the doctors are saying they might not walk again. That's how difficult it is. And then over and above physical injuries as well, you find that the child, the behavior, they present with all sorts of negative behaviors. They self-destruct. The child can take enough and cut themselves like this. And when you ask, why are you doing that? They're like, I'm not feeling anything. I just want to take the pain away. But how do you take the pain away if you are inflicting pain on yourself? And sometimes they get these suicidal thoughts. They think that it's not worth living if I'm feeling like this inside. And sometimes they just want to take their lives. We've had kids that have attempted to kill themselves several times, and they just want to escape from the pain. They can't handle it. And this thing is not only affecting their life as children, it's transition into adulthood, because even there you find that they have low self-esteem. They don't trust themselves. They don't believe that they can be good parents, and they don't believe that they can do anything positive for themselves. So it's just a lot.
I started the Almond Tree purely as a response of obedience to the Lord. I felt that He was showing me that He was actually giving me a child that was left for the dead, and that He required me to take care of this child and raise this child up. And but little did I know that one child would actually be very many children. And so it was really just a journey in terms of that. Of really discovering what did this mean for my life. And soon enough I met a lady, Renee Testo, who helped me start what we in those days called Swallow's Nest, and it was literally a baby home in my home. And my husband and I decided that with what we had, which was an extra bedroom in our home, we would start the baby home and take in one baby, and let's see how we did with that. And one baby became 4 in a matter of months, and in a matter of months 4 became 6, and it just grew and grew and grew, and a vision really grew over time for what this could be.
Well, many years ago, the Lord also gave me a vision of a school, and I've got adopted children, so for me that was a natural way to go. So when I met Charmaine and saw the needs that they had, I got involved with her then. So that's how I've become involved and been there since, probably for almost 5 years.
Yeah, so the mission of the Almond Tree is really the care and protection of orphaned and vulnerable children, and everything that means, everything that it means to care for a child, and everything that it means to protect a vulnerable child is what we do. And our vision is to see every single child come into a loving family, and whether that means they're adopted into a family, or whether it means they are reunified with a member of their family, or whether it actually means that we are that family for them. And some children stay with us just for periods of time, and other children will actually grow up with us. And the children who do stay with us for a period of time, we purpose to be the family to them during that time. And the idea with the Almond Tree Village is really to provide homes for children, 6 children in a home with parents that will take care of those children. And the thing with that is that we are providing yet again a family for orphaned and vulnerable children.
When we met the Care Bears, we identified with them the needs that we had at the time, and at that stage it was the learning centre for our older children, because many of our children that came, older children from the ages of 4 to 12, some of them, in fact 6 of them, had not had any schooling, so we had to start up a little learning centre which was very under-resourced. So that was an area where we said, okay, great, the Care Bears can come in and resource the centre. Then it was the sensory garden, the eating area where the children would eat. We were going to do something there, and the playground. Yes, just to make a nice playground for the older children. We have something for the younger children, but for the older children, we wanted to put something together there. Then what happened was, through operational changes and as things go, we had to change the project up a little, because we decided to move our baby home from our other location to this village location. And then the Care Bears were really great in just being flexible, and they were like, okay, great, we're going to change. And we decided to do a painting of the baby nursery, which was now going to be moving into the area where the eating hall was. So that area had no built-in cupboards and that sort of thing, and that was another area where they said, okay, great, we'll do the painting of the nursery and we'll put some cupboards in for there. So that particular place has been really well resourced, and it's working really well.
Children was a theme for this year's Team Challenge. We wanted to create awareness on the epidemic on child abandonment, abuse and vulnerability. What I can say that this Team Challenge has given me a greater depth of knowledge and education. We take so much for granted. These kids don't have a voice, and the Care Bears wanted to be their voice of reason. Our team went to the Almond Tree on a visit to identify key themes that we can probably fulfill on and how to make a difference. One of the themes that we've identified was a sensory garden. We took so much for granted that we didn't know a child actually loses their senses due to the trauma that they've been through in their childhood or growing up or when they're young. That was to create a sensory garden so that the kids can get their senses back. The other theme was the baby home that moved to the children's village. It was dull, it was no light, there was nothing for the babies to see. We decided to do some murals on the walls for the kids to look at while they're being changed, while they're laying in their cots, something to brighten up their dull lives. The last but not only theme that we've identified was a playground. When visiting the Almond Tree, all we saw was just 2 trampolines that the kids were playing outside with. And we felt as a team that maybe we can add some value by making sure that we can at least create a playground for kids to play in and be children. We have requested for donations for more equipment for outside activities like soccer posts, netball posts for the kids, and we're hopeful that somebody will come through for us in the event, that the kids maybe towards the end of the year that they can have something to play with during Christmas. But we are hopeful that something will come through.
It was a very personal thing getting involved with the Care Bears and the Team Challenge. One really sort of got to know about the children, one really got to know and understand this cause and see how many people actually go the extra mile, how many wonderful people there are out there who are actually prepared to buy stuff, donate it, and work towards making South Africa a better community.
So getting involved in the Care Bears team is more than just involvement through work. It's for me as a person as well to show empathy to others that really need my time and money. Because especially the kids, I've got kids myself, and I know that kids want love. I know that kids want attention. I know that kids want to be provided for. I'm able to provide for my own, but those that cannot provide for themselves or no one can provide for, I would want to get involved and help provide for them as well.
I have little children and I can't imagine what their lives may be like without their mum, and so my heart bleeds for other children who don't have their parents around with them. Getting involved meant I could make a difference in their lives in a little way that I was able to do, and it meant that I could make a difference in a child's life. That's just an amazing gift.
Personal level is just to be involved, make a difference in the children that are not as fortunate as our children. A lot of things we take for granted. We have children, we have raised them, but those kids do not have parents. They don't have anybody to look after. They don't have a normal life, celebrating little things like birthdays. So going there and just spending that time with them, I thought it would go a long way and just give them love.
Wow. For me, it humbled me, and as I see the pictures of those kids, it's really heartbreaking to note that some people out there have kids and they don't really care for them. So if we could add value as a Nedbank, I suggest we continue doing that. And as a person, I think it humbled me.
It's made me more hungry to go out and volunteer, more hungry to give my skills, more hungry to donate, more hungry to help people that are less fortunate than me, especially children, because children are vulnerable and children need our support, children need our help. So it made me more aware of the evil that's happening in the world, because we live in our own worlds, we live in our own communities, and we don't really get to experience the ills that are happening outside us. So being involved in this initiative put me right at the center of being able to experience and being able to feel the pain that these children are going through and being able to give them comfort.
You can make a difference by doing a lot of stuff. I think you don't have to do big things. I think by just doing small acts of kindness, like just visiting the home or just providing your time to show that society cares.
So you can make a difference by just going to the Almond Tree website, clicking on their donation page and aligning yourself with the Commit 100 campaign. Just a moment of your time is all you need to just commit 100 Rand a month for 12 months, and that is going to literally save lives. That's what you can do.
So my challenge to you as an individual is to put your hand up. You can make a difference by doing the smallest thing. You can make a difference. It doesn't have to be vulnerable children, it can be elderly, it can be animals, it can be the environment, but it is our responsibility on the whole as individuals to say, I can do something. And I think that's the message that I would like to get across to people in general, to the public, to the general South African. No matter what your salary is, no matter what you earn, you can make a difference by just giving something, whatever you're able to give. And it's something that each person needs to think about and needs to feel in their heart. That it's important, because especially vulnerable children, which is my passion, there are so many, and there are many that we don't even know about that need help. And if each one of us just said, I'll help, we would solve this problem just with the public, without even government helping us. We would solve this problem.
You can make a difference by not only volunteering and not only by giving money, but also taking your time and going and visiting these children, giving them your love. Also, I think it's about time that people got back to being a community. I mean, we grew up in a village or a town where every parent was your parent and everybody looked after everybody else's child. So if we can just go back to basics and start implementing and initiating those programs where if you see someone suffering or if you see something wrong, raise the alarm. It is true, it does take a village to raise a child.